This video is sponsored by my adorable one.
Hi, my name is Asha and I have 2.5 boys, 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I'm currently 6 months pregnant with my third boy. I also run a blog called Rhythm and Boys on Instagram and Facebook, and it basically just documents out my journey with raising boys, or raising dragons. So that's basically me in a nutshell. So with my first usual missed period, do a urine test, and then boom, I was pregnant. So I told my husband, and then there was. Then with my second, that wasn't planned either. We were actually on holiday. We went to the States because my husband's from the States. So then we went to the mall. I had missed my period for maybe a month, and then went to the mall, and then my husband was like, should we get a test? And I was like, okay. So we just went to the store, bought the test, went to the bathroom in the mall. So in America, most malls or shops would have these family-sized bathrooms, which are huge. So we went inside, all three of us, and then I took the test, and we just waited, and 2 lines. And he was happy. I wasn't happy. I was like, oh no. I kind of wanted to control that. Anyway, at the time, I really wanted a second boy because I thought if my son had another brother, it would be and also, what am I going to do with a girl? But then fast forward, we came back to Ghana, and then all my friends who found out later that I was pregnant sold me the idea of having a girl. And then now my mind starts racing. I'm like, oh my God, it would be so nice to have a girl. But then it was a boy. I wasn't too bothered. Although I went, after the hospital told me it was a boy, I actually went twice to a different place to get a scan. To get a scan and check if it was truly a boy. And each time I was like, what are the chances that you're wrong? And they're like, it is 99.9% right that you're having a boy. I said, okay, fine. And I was okay with it. I was happy. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to, go and buy new clothes. Well, I did, but I don't have to go and shop a whole lot. I have a whole bunch of stuff that are for boys, so it's fine. Then with this one, oh God. So pandemic, I know it's not nice to call the baby a pandemic baby, but it's a pandemic baby. I mean, I had this baby during the lockdown period, and people have made all sorts of jokes. I've had all the jokes. Everything else is boring right now, so whatever. I found out I was pregnant again, missed my period, did the blood test, not the blood test, but the urine test at home, and boom. I remember I was trembling because it was completely unplanned. There's 2 years between Roman and Hendrix, and then with this one, there's going to be 4 years gap because Hendrix would just be turning 4 when the baby comes. So I honestly, for my third child, I said to myself I was going to have a third child if I knew for certain that I was going to have a girl. But here we are. I'm having another boy. I've made peace with it. It took me 3 days when I found out it was a boy. I literally was inconsolable. I cried. Because this was very different. There were so many signs. Like when I go on Instagram, all I was seeing was baby girls. No, the first sign for me was when I did the test. So again, I sent Ryan out, my husband Ryan. I said, go to the pharmacy. Can you buy the test? And when he came back, the test that he bought was pink. So I was like, oh my God, I still have it. I kept it somewhere in the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. This would be so beautiful. So I kept it, thinking everything is pointing to girl. There's no way I'm having a boy. The whole experience was different. With the boys, morning sickness a little bit, but I kind of it was okay. Then with this one, it was completely different. So yeah. The journey, and how different it is from child to child. All three of them, I have to say, haven't been anything comparable to what I've seen and what I've heard. So I've been quite lucky. With Roman, who was my first, I remember it was just, I had these like morning sickness, and I quickly learned fast from my mother-in-law. You know, she's like, get some saltine crackers by the bedside. When you wake up in the morning, don't jump out of the bed. She's like, 30 minutes, even if it takes 30 minutes, is how long. If it's 30 minutes you need to get out of the bed, time it. Don't rush. Wake up, I eat my saltine crackers, and I'll be laying in bed, maybe watching TV. And then once I'm done, I just climb out. Sometimes I also had ginger ale. And then I found that it really helped, but I realized the whole jumping out of the bed, it just unsettles your stomach and makes you sick. But I'm someone who doesn't throw up. Even when I'm not pregnant, on my sickest of days, I just can't vomit. So vomiting wasn't really part of my story. I only threw up once the entire pregnancy. I was driving somewhere from East Legon, and I don't know what happened. Something just triggered, and I had to stop the car, and I just opened my door and I just went bleh, on the side of the road. And then that was it. You know, with Hendrix, my second, again, I wasn't here. The first 2 months we were in the States, and what was it? I used to just be tired, and I would feel so, you know, like sickly in the mornings. Again, no throwing up, no particular craving. I just remember really craving fufu. And we were right in the deep, thick part of Georgia where I couldn't find fufu. Anything around like an hour drive. So what did I do? I went to the shop and I went to get rice. And then I made myself some light soup. And I made like, it was basically a mucho, but I told myself it was fufu. It did not taste anywhere near fufu, but you know what? It satisfied something. And I was okay. And then when we came back to Ghana, I felt very heavy, you know, I'm like unusually heavy compared to when I was pregnant the first time. But it was okay. Also tiredness, going up and down stairs in the house. It was a bit of a pain, but nothing I couldn't manage. It's fine. No particular cravings either. Done with my third one. All day sickness. This is why I thought I was having a girl, you know, the whole day. As in, I wake up in the morning and I cannot do anything. I just stay in bed because I'm just sick. Almost like I have malaria. Yeah, it was not very pleasant, but I was dealing with it because I was like, oh, maybe it's my girl and whatever. No, I didn't spit. I'm not a spitter, thank God, because you know that stuff really. I don't know what I would have done if I was in that situation. And for me, I always like I told my sister-in-law when she was pregnant, for me it's mind over matter. Like I remember I would be in the shower using my normal, you know, my bath gel, and then there's something telling my brain like, I don't like the smell of this, but then I would just push through it because I knew if I gave into that, I don't like it, I'll probably never like it again. So what am I going to do? All my perfumes, I'm not going to like. So it was mind over matter for me. I just kept telling myself, yeah, I don't like it, deal with it. In fact, 2 days ago, I went and bought myself this bath gel, and I looked at the bottle when I was in the shower because it had a familiar smell. And when I smelled it, I was like, I remember this. When I was pregnant the second time, it was one of those soaps I was using that I didn't like, but I used it anyway. I didn't say, put it on the side. I just deal with it, you know. That's just the way I am. D-Day. Okay, so on my day of delivery, I woke up in the morning. So what had happened was I had Roman in South Africa. I have family there. I stayed with them. I had Roman in February and I stayed with them from December. And my OBGYN is in South Africa. So when the week before I had him, he looked at the baby and he's like, you know what, you're too skinny. this baby is just growing bigger and bigger. And if we have to wait, because he was due the end of February. And at this point, I'm talking about, let's say, around the 8th of February. He's looking at the baby and he's like, he's really big. So I'm going to induce you and then have him come out, because I feel like any bigger and there has to be some intervention. So I was like, okay. Because I was also done. I was ready. I was feeling like a whale. So anyway, he booked me in on the 17th of February, but I was supposed to go in on the 16th at 9 p.m. to get induced, so that the plan was for him to arrive like the next day. And in the morning when I woke up, I went for my usual walk, living in an estate where there's like, it's a bit hilly. So I woke up, I went on my walk, went up the hill, came down, and then I did something that most people won't recommend, but when I came back, I put relaxer in my hair. Relaxed my hair a little bit because it was looking a bit frazzled. A girl has to look good. So I did my hair, did the bubble bath, went inside, I was chilling, I was there, I was making a playlist of my, like my delivery room, the music that I want to hear. I was making a playlist. I was just ready, but I was terrified inside of pushing. So got everything together, and then Ryan, my husband, he actually went to school for photography, so he took some pictures of me, like, when I was getting ready to leave, which was very interesting. And then we went to the hospital. So then I got induced. He stayed with me the night. I got induced. I went to bed, and they kept coming in and checking. You know how it goes. And I was like, this hurts. It was very uncomfortable. Anyway, I did. Every time they would come in and check, I was at 1 centimeter. I didn't move anywhere. For 18 hours, I was stuck on 1 centimeter. I don't even know how that works. And I was like, what's going on? They kept coming in and checking and doing all that. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going to happen? So around, let's say 4:30 South African time. So this would be 2:30 Ghana time. The nurse comes into my room and she's like, I've got news to tell you, Stacey. And I was like, what? She goes, doc says we should get you ready, for a procedure. And I was like, what procedure? And then she's like, we're going to have to take you in for a C-section. And I was like, oh my God, no way. Because I did yoga, I walked. It's like, this isn't how I plan. Like, you're going to cut me up. What do you mean? I had never even had like an, what do you call it? Like a infusion in my arm in my life. So having a child was a big deal, because at this point, yes, they had all the stuff in there to get me induced, and it was my first time. So I was like, how do I go from never been really sick or need medical intervention, and then go from getting that, and then next minute I know I'm going to go into surgery? I was devastated. So I called my mom. My mom was in Ghana. She hadn't come yet. I was crying. Ryan had gone back home to go and change because he was with me the whole day. He went to go and shower and come back. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. They're going to cut me up. And then he's like, wait. So I said, okay, you can't cut me until he comes. And they're like, fine, we're just telling you, we're just preparing you. And then doctor also has to come. So I think I cried maybe for 2 hours. And I just remember them wheeling me into the theater. And I was lying on the bed. And the last thing that I remember saying to myself, I honestly, like, I'm not a religious person. Yes, I believe in God. And I pray. I'm Catholic. I was born Catholic. I am Catholic. But I'm not, your typical, I have friends who send me Bible verses to read and stuff like that. I didn't read them. I'm sorry. But in that moment, I resigned myself to God. And I'm like, I remember the prayer that I said was, God, let your will be the way. Because I was thinking, what if I never come out of this, I don't know, so many things were going through my head. So they wheeled me and I was just lying there, and we got to the theater, and the anesthesiologist came in to administer they're like, you need to sit up, lean forward, do this. And I'm like, what the hell is all of this? This is too much. Anyway, at that point, I don't know if you've ever had a moment in your life where you've just resigned. Like, I was out of it. I was like, whatever, do whatever you need to do. If I die, that's God's will. If I live, is His will, you know. So I sat on the bed, leaned over, and they wiped my back, I believe, and then I just felt this thing, and I remember my left leg shook, and I was like, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. I was like, oh my God, these people have just, I'm paralyzed. And then I couldn't feel my legs, right? So they gave me the spinal, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Will I be able to walk again? You know, but you know, it was a matter of minutes. Next thing, they put the screen, did all of the whole thing. Ryan was there. I said Ryan is a photographer, so he had his equipment in there as well, and he basically took pictures of them cutting my stomach. They had my guts out, and it was very interesting. With Hendrix, because I had a C-section with Roman. Yes, if I was somewhere else, maybe in the UK, they would have probably asked me to try and have a vaginal birth after a C-section. They call the VBAC, but I wasn't going to do it because I was terrified. I'd read stories about people rupturing their wombs because, you know, they're trying to push vaginally after a C-section too quick. I think you can do it, but then there has to be a bit of a gap between the earlier C-section. So then I just went straight. I picked my date. I said, you know, all right, okay, let's do Monday. I just picked the day, 9th January, and then the hospital is very close to my house. So Airport Women's, very close to the house. So I was supposed to go in the day before and get you know, my stuff going, and I was like, oh no, I just live around here. I'll come at 5 a.m. because I was scheduled for 9 in the morning. So I just woke up at 6, went to the hospital, and then by 9:30 he was born. It was quick. Again, with that too, once they gave me in fact, anesthesiologist, I don't even know if that's the right. He came and he explained to me everything that they were going to give me, but I had so much anxiety. Like, I was talking, I couldn't hear anything. I could just hear rah, 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 rah. And then he was trying to explain to me all the medication they're going to give me. I had so much anxiety. Again, I had an almost 2-year-old, and I was thinking to myself, oh my God, like, if anything goes wrong. So I had him in Ghana. I had Hendrix in Ghana. I said, oh my God, if anything goes wrong, what happens to Roman, you know, the new baby? There's so much going on through my head. So he was telling me, yeah. I didn't hear anything. And then I went into the room. They administered whatever they had to, and they gave me the spinal. And I remember the guy was like, can you feel your toes? I said, wait, don't cut me yet. And then I could actually wriggle my toes. I was like, I don't think you should be cutting me right now. I can actually feel my toes. And they said it was fine. So as I was laying down, my blood pressure dropped. I couldn't breathe. I was like, heaving. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And the decision, not to say that people have kids in Ghana. It's just that I made that decision because I just wanted to be at home. I wanted to be in my own house and have the baby. So then I'm thinking, have I made a mistake? Should I have gone back to South Africa? But what I didn't say was my doctor from South Africa actually came for the birth. So he was also in the theater with, you know, the doctors from Airport Women's, which was very, very nice. I felt very, very comfortable, but it was just like, what have I done? Anyway, the guy was very calm, the anesthesiologist. He just came to me and he said, just relax, you know, I'll give you something right now. You're just reacting, it's dropped your blood pressure. I'll give you something right now and it will, you know. And he had a tablet to show me what the side effects were so that because I was freaking out. And my doctor came to my side and he's like, I need you to calm down, it's fine. And within like a minute, he had given me something that completely took away the whole breathing issue. And the baby was born. Everything was fine. I was wheeled back into my room. I had one of the best cares I've ever had. Honestly, when I compare even the pain management from Ghana to South Africa, I want to say that the pain management here was it was phenomenal. I didn't feel much pain. compared to when I was, maybe because it was my first time. I don't even know, but I think that whatever they gave me was fantastic. However, they gave me, what's that one? It's not codeine. What? Morphine. So they gave me morphine, and I reacted to morphine. For 2 days, I was itching. I was like a junkie. The nurse had to come in and use a brush to scrub my back. I was itching all over. It was very uncomfortable. They kept giving me something that would counter it, but it was just, there were windows of where I was completely itchy. So yeah, I mean, that is what the journey has been like. So, you know how you see in movies, like they give you the baby and the baby's like covered in, all that fat, and so I always used to wonder, are they gonna give me this child like fresh out of my womb? Will he be nyang? Like honestly, I was very conscious about stuff like that. But and that I want to say they handed him to me. They didn't, because I was, I was kind of like halfway covered. He was already wrapped up, and they showed him to me when they pulled him out, and I think they went and may have wiped him and then brought him wrapped up and then like showed him to me. And I was just looking at him thinking, I have a child, like what am I going to do with this? So when I'm going home, I'm going to be taking him, right? I didn't feel anything like this instant emotional bond or whatever. Yes, I knew it had just come out of me, and it just felt like, okay, all right, But then when I took him, I spent 4 days at the hospital. It was when I took him home that I started to feel, this. I used to cry a lot because I couldn't, I was like, how can this human being lying down there expect me, who I'm still figuring out who I am? Like, I'm supposed to take care of you, like you trust me. Why did you pick me, And so, yeah, it took me a number of days to sort of build that special bond that they write about in books and speak about in movies. So, yeah. So, support system for both kids have been superb, and hopefully it'll be the same this time around. Going home, like in South Africa, my cousin had like 2 nannies. My mom was there, my sister-in-law was there, my sister was there. I had a lot of help, so it wasn't too bad. The only thing was they called this thing, I can't remember the name, but after 3 weeks, he was doing the whole 3-hour crying, and it was always at the same time, which would be 11 p.m. He'd cry for 3 hours. It was a nightmare, and come to find that he had colic. So we saw the pediatrician, and we took care of that. It was fine, but I didn't have any challenges transitioning from hospital to home at all. So honestly, I find breastfeeding very, very boring. I know, to each their own. The truth is, I wasn't producing enough milk to also feed this child, so I had to supplement from day one, supplement with formula anyway. And both kids, I found, like after 2.5, 3 months, they don't want it, And so I used to pump. So pump breast milk, put it in the freezer, and then feed it to them. But then it was just keeping up with it. Again, I wasn't producing enough to sustain them, and eventually we just moved on to formula completely. So after 3 months, I want to say averagely for both boys, I just didn't. Hendrix actually preferred formula to breast milk. Very weird. So that's what it is. Let's start with circumcision. Circumcision was actually one of the reasons why I really did not want another boy, because it is very traumatic for me. Roman had what they call a breeze, The bris is like a Jewish ceremony. We are not Jewish in any shape or form, or my husband he's not from a Jewish family. But then in South Africa, it's very big. You know, when you have a child, you can actually do the hospital version, or you can go and get a bris. So we booked with a doctor, a Jewish doctor, to actually get it done. And I remember him telling us, your son, when he grows up, he's gonna have some girls. I was like, don't tell me that. Like, he's like, because we're gonna give him like a designer cut. Anyway, it was completely ceremonial, where like Ryan had to hold his legs and watch whilst it was being done. So when Ryan came home, he was very upset, and we actually had a big fight over it, because then, you know, when he came home, he wasn't very nice to me, you know, like he came home, he's like, go and see what you've done to your son, you know. And I said, what do you mean? It's like, just go and take a look. So I went, it just looked like he had been butchered. And the doctor told us, he said, it looks bad when you see it, but once it heals, once everything heals, trust me, you'll be fine. So then I remember taking his stuff off, and I just broke down. I was wailing. With Hendrix, the hospital did it. I told them I'll sit outside in my car, just call me when it's done. I remember as soon as they called me, I went in there, and they hadn't really cleaned up the area, so I could see like the bits of cotton with blood, and I was just like, give my child. I just took him, and I was like, oh my God, the poor thing. I took him home. You know, my mom helped me. You know, when you're giving them a bath, you have to sort of like use warm water. I remember with Hendrix, like the gauze got stuck at the tip, and I hate talking about it. It was gut wrenching. You know, my mom was pouring water, and I remember just screaming. I was like, "Mommy, get out, get out!" My mom was like, "Relax," and I was like, "Get out! Stop! Leave him! You're hurting him." My mom's like, "I'm not. I'm trying to actually." My mom's a nurse. I'm trying to take this thing off. You don't want it stuck on it. And the poor boy was just. So yeah, I've asked my friends who've done the ring version, and it sounds like the ring is probably the least traumatic version. So I think we're gonna go for that this time, because I just can't. Or unless God wants to surprise me, and the ultrasound that I've been having, maybe it's like the umbilical cord they've been seeing and thinking it's a boy. But if it's a boy, for sure, I'm doing the ring. I'm not doing the cutting thing anymore. No, I don't like it. Roman got a couple of his vaccinations in South Africa, obviously, because we came to Ghana when he was about February, March, April. He was almost 3 months when we came back. So we got some of his shots there, and then we came to Ghana. We went to Child Accra, and we continued from there. Same with Hendrix. Actually, Hendrix, when he was born, the pediatrician came from Child Accra to the hospital to actually take a look at him, because over there they don't have pediatricians that are like, you know, I think they come maybe once a week at the time. So then I just had my pediatrician come into the hospital the day that I had him. She came and checked and said everything was perfect. Vaccinations, no issues. Yeah. We did a lot of, I think from 6 months old, we would do sweet potatoes with carrots, you know, cut some sweet potatoes with carrots to make it a bit sweet. We did a lot of broccoli with carrots or with sweet potatoes. And then once they were a bit older, we started doing like fish, so a lot of steamed fish with a lot of veg, yogurt. So we'd get like normal yogurt, and then you can mix it up with like fruit, like applesauce. So you make applesauce and you mix it up to make it nice and sweet. Because if it's got that bite, they won't like it. So you cut it with some fruit, and it's tasty. My Roman loved yogurt a lot. He would eat a lot of, the baby food. Hendrix went from, okay, he didn't even do cereals. He wanted to eat jollof every day. He still eats jollof a lot, but he used to eat jollof for breakfast, jollof for lunch, jollof for dinner, and then maybe we'll do like fish with some vegetables on the side. Yeah, it wasn't difficult. So honestly, the school is a funny one because I used to work in a bank, and I remember I was working at GT Bank in Laboni, and I remember there was a school called Little Explorers, and the teachers used to come in for their salaries at the bank, and I'm just seeing how they did everything. I hadn't even seen the school. I think I may have gone on their website, and I was like, one day when I have kids, this would be easily 2009, so this would be about 6 years even before I had my child. I said, one day when I have my child, he or she will go to that school. So when I was ready to send Roman to school, I didn't look anywhere else. We called the school, we booked a tour, went and did it, and then that was it. There was nothing to compare. It was like my mind had already been made up from years before. So yeah. So with my current pregnancy, I've been very lazy. It's not the greatest, but I think that with each pregnancy, you just care and care less. Because with Roman, I was doing yoga, I was, prenatal yoga. I was going like 2-3 times a week, then walking. I was doing so much. With Hendrix, let's say I did about 40% of that. With this one, nothing at all. I've just been winging it. Honestly, before I found out I was pregnant, I was working out a lot. So I was going for... Actually, when I found out I was pregnant, I did about 2 months of walking 5 to 7 kilometers every morning. But then I had my housekeeper left. And the challenge going for the morning walks was when the boys wake up, they start looking for me, and it's too much of a hassle. So I haven't walked in a while, but I like to think that I'm a little fit. So I'll be fine. I don't think anyone can say yes or 100%. We all get it wrong, and there's some days that we're all like, you know what, I don't feel like it, and so I'm gonna do, like wake up in the morning and my kids are saying, can I have ice cream? There are times when I'm like, yeah, have ice cream and leave me alone, Is it good? No. Is it gonna kill them? No. Let them have ice cream, do it. Just leave me alone. But then there are more days when I'm like, nope, you've got to eat your breakfast, eat a proper breakfast. We try to give them snacks or treats after lunch and then after dinner. So the morning, we don't do treats because then you just start them off with sugar and they don't want to eat anything else. But in terms of knowing, I don't think so. A lot of people see me and they think that I have it all figured out because it's social media. I don't. Like, if you were to put a camera in my house, you would see I scream a lot at my kids. So mothering I don't think anybody can say I'm a perfect mother because it doesn't exist, Maybe you might be perfect for your situation, and then your perfect situation isn't someone else's perfect situation. So do I think that I'm the best mother for my kids? Absolutely. I think I am. And that is why God gave them to me. But I am nowhere near perfect because sometimes I really hate myself for the things that I do. I don't beat my kids. But I do scream because my mom screamed at me. And there's something inside of me that is in my subconscious that makes me... Sometimes it comes out, and it takes a lot of work to not be that type of person because I hated it so much. So I am conscious of that, and I try to not be that type of mom. And every mom wants to be better than their mom, right? I don't know anybody that's like, oh, my mom raised me. So there's some things that your mom probably did that you're like, nah, I would never do this. So yeah, I try to be a lot better than what my mom was to me, to my kids. combining work and parenting, barely. But luckily, I work for myself, and so I'm able to wake up today and say, "Fine, I'll take my kids to work," or "I'm not going in. I'll stay home." You know, so I'm able to sort of create a convenient situation for us. It is not always easy. There are some days when I just want to actually come and sit down and do some hours of work that nobody's disturbing me. Very few of those days, I'll get up and I'll do it. But then I tend to spend a lot of time with my kids at home and my work. I'm lucky again to be able to do that. Not most people can do that, so that's it. I need to think about that. The most rewarding part is just, I think it's the unconditional love that you get from your kids, right? I like this morning, Hendrix gave me a hug for no reason. I get a lot of those from the boys, and I see how different it is, even my relationship with them compared to what they have with their dad. You know, they're usually very, very, soft when it comes to me. Yes, they have their days when they are very boisterous and all of that, but I love that I always have that love. There's no conditions attached. Doesn't matter, even if they did something wrong and I screamed, 2 minutes later, they want to hug, they want to kiss me and tell me that they love me. Nothing compares to that. So I want to say that is definitely the most rewarding aspect of being a mother. So, obviously with the pandemic, the kids have been out of school since March, and we actually made a decision to not take them back. That's a different story that we can share for another day. But I wanted to say, it gave me a lot of time to think about the sort of education that my kids have or are getting, and if it's enough for me. I've always been like an advocate for, the best foundation. So I'm not an academic person, not at this age. 5-year-old and 4-year-old, I don't need them to become professors. I want them to be kids who are assertive. I want them to be independent thinkers. I want them to be critical thinkers. They analyze, things. These are all things that I found to be very difficult as a child going through school. And so it was like trying to think outside of the box. You have to sort of take yourself out of that situation. Accept that, getting an education in Ghana can be very limiting. And then sometimes when I look at situations, like my husband and I will be comparing or trying to figure out a solution to a problem. And it's just the way that he's able to arrive at his solution first faster than me. Not because he's smarter than me, but it's because he grew up in America in a different environment than I did. And he's been given all these tools which allows him to sort of, his mind is just free. I feel like my mind, I have not been able to compartmentalize things, and everything is just a big jumble, like a cotton ball in my head. I don't want my kids to be that, to grow up also feeling like a bit stifled or challenged, lack of a better word. So I did a lot of researching on what to do with the kids when it's time to send them back to school. Would I be comfortable sending them back in September? You know what? At some point, we all need to get out. Yes, there's a virus, but we all have to come out and do what we need to do. So yes, we decided to just take them out of school. We're actually starting our own homeschool from Monday. There's a lot of focus on the math and then the reading aspect, but then there's a lot of responsibility given to the child. You want them to be independent. You want them to actually become real learners who are not disturbed by discomfort. So, I just wanted to say, if there are any parents out there who they have time, I know I have time. This is the work that I do, so it's easy for me to actually branch into that. But most people don't have the luxury of, staying home and homeschooling their kids. But if you do, there's a world of information out there. Read about micro schools, and see what you can do, or even find out schools or compare what your kids are doing to what other schools are also doing, and how to raise well-rounded children instead of kids who are 2 years old are saying their alphabets, and the parents are super proud. For me, I'm not, those things, they don't impress me. I'm more impressed by children who are able to explain themselves and speak very well. Those are the things that rock my boat. So I don't know if I've made any sense, because I've got a lot of stuff in my head, but it's okay.
This video was brought to you by My Adorable One.